Ay, 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 ay. Ngimshelile, ngimshelile. Ah man, what a beautiful song to usher in the next conversation. Hayibo, ingoma ka-Cute Mark no-Tipsy and bahamba ne-crew yabo nje. Ingoma yakhona ithi Paris, amapiano right here on Alex FM 89.1. And manje sengihleli-ke no-Samad Davis. Samad Davis is also enjoying the song.
I love the song.
Right? It's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful song. Do you listen to amapiano?
That's on my playlist.
That's your playlist.
That's my main playlist.
Right. Okay, how is Mapiano in America? I'm just curious.
Music is universal.
Right.
If it's good, it's good. Doesn't matter the language. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it's good, if people can move to it and feel inspired.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Right.
So people is picking up there as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You might just also release a Mapiano song.
Why not?
Because everyone's on this bandwagon.
Why not? Good music is good music.
Right? I totally agree. So, Samad is an investor, he's an entrepreneur, he's a dad, and all the way from I have to say this right, New York. Okay?
New York.
New York. Not New York.
It's across the street from
Across the street from New York City.
There's a river that divides us.
Okay.
That's it.
What's the name of the river?
It's the Hudson River.
The Hudson River.
The Hudson River divides New Jersey from New York City.
Okay, I see. So, like a young boy, let's take you all the way back, right? In New York. We have to somehow, because we have to kind of understand the journey of becoming who you are now. You're also the executive producer of Kings of Joburg. That's not the only production you've got. You've been on the block.
Yes.
You've done top actors. You've done quite a number of productions even here in South Africa.
Yes.
So tell me about that little boy just growing up in New York. Or let's fast forward. Let's fast forward to the time that you were actually cutting people's hair. Right?
Well, you can't skip to that without understanding how that started.
Okay, let's start.
But we are who we are.
Yeah.
We're just grown versions of the kids that we were.
Okay.
In life. We're just grown now, but we are the same.
We are the same.
I was always the most adventurous, the one that always get in trouble, the one that was always causing us stress. What is he doing now?
Yeah.
And here I am in Africa, on the other side of the planet from where I'm from, right? So you can imagine the anxiety of my mother and whoever else saying, "What are you doing on the other side of the planet?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I would say growing up in North was just like it's no different than Alex.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's no difference. I mean, this feels like my hood too.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No, wait, but which
every
part?
Hood, every part of it, every hood in the world has the same energy, the same elements, the same people, different languages, different looks, but the same characters. Think about it. And I think I like to call it good bacteria, right? If you don't go through anything in life, you don't establish good bacteria. There's good bacteria and bad bacteria. Yeah. Your gut has.
You need both. You
need both, right? Yeah. So your gut has good bacteria to fight off certain infections and certain things like that. But growing up in an environment with a lot of various kinds of energy, it fortifies you. You develop an instinct you can't develop anywhere else. You understand people differently than growing up anywhere else. You understand adversity differently than growing up anywhere else. So I embrace where I grew up in Newark, and I still say to this day I'm just a kid from Newark. I say that. But to your question, my father decided he wasn't going to pay for haircuts anymore. So he wanted to buy his own clippers and then cut myself and my bigger brother's hair. And he messed my bigger brother's hair up,
Oh
and he
no.
messed my hair up. And my big brother said, never again will he cut my hair.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he learned to cut his hair himself. And to this day, he's 50, 52.
Still cuts his own
He cuts his own hair. He's never been to a barbershop.
My goodness.
But he has OCD, right? So he's
Oh.
like very particular.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we were younger, after he would cut his hair, he would take a shower. And then I would say, can you cut my hair? And he would say, no, you're going to get your hair on me. I'm clean already. Cut it yourself.
Okay.
So I had to learn how to cut my hair myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And during that process, I ended up starting to cut all my friends' hair. Since I was young.
Since you were young.
All the way through high school.
But you turned it into a business.
All the way through high school. And then when I became grown enough, I was able to find my way into a barbershop. And I would rent my chair, meaning I would pay the owner of the shop a certain amount of money per week. And all the money that came in was my money. I just had to pay for rent my chair.
Yeah, yeah.
And, through that, being a barber changed my life because everybody loves their barber. Yeah. Everybody talks to their barber. If you're a barber, you're a therapist. You are the keeper of secrets. You are you are Switzerland. The barbershop is a safe territory for everybody. So everybody loved their barber. Yeah. But one of my clients was an older guy who was into construction. He was a black guy into construction. And he would always tell me about construction and real estate. Yeah. And I asked him to, mentor me into real estate. I want to learn how to, and I want to be able to put some money into that and hopefully grow it. And so that's what he did. Yeah. So he sold me an abandoned building. It was abandoned for I don't know how many years. And I fixed it up, cleaned it out. I didn't fix it up back to being livable, but I cleaned it out. I gutted it out, meaning all the way down to the studs. Okay. I secured it because whoever lived there, it was 3 floors. Whoever lived there left everything. And it was just there for years, a mess. Yeah, yeah. So I cleaned it out, and then I ended up selling it to someone else for 10 times the amount of money. Maybe more than that. 20 times the amount of money I got it for. Yeah, yeah. And I said, okay, let's keep this going. Yeah, let's keep this going. Yeah. And so I just kept going. I'm still in real estate to this day. You're talking 1995. Oh, that happened. Uh-huh. I'm showing my age here. But 1995, and until this day, I'm still in real estate. But the real estate allowed me to invest in restaurants. So I own restaurants in New Jersey and then in New York City. And what is called Harlem, USA, New York City. And then at a certain point, I just wasn't happy anymore. Yeah. I felt like I was a slave to the restaurants. It's like, life is about chapters. You keep turning that page in your book until you get to the point where what you do with passion, you would do for free, even though you're going to make some money from it. But you need to find your purpose and passion. And I was still looking for that. So I didn't have, at that time, the restaurants that I had wasn't fulfilling my purpose, and I was no longer passionate about it. Yeah, yeah. So I was looking for that next thing. Yeah, yeah. So I've always been creative. I've always been creative, but I didn't know the rules of engagement. I didn't know how to be creative. I didn't know how to apply that creativity. No one in my community ever made a movie or any kind of production. I never saw anything like that, right? So a friend of mine, a guy who was working at my restaurant, told me sometime prior, he was managing my restaurant, he told me sometime prior that, about 18 months prior that, he is going to resign. Because remember, I had the New Jersey and the New York restaurant. Yeah. So he was running my New Jersey restaurant. Okay. And he said he needed to resign because he wanted to go to film school. At that time, I'm like, okay, whatever that is, fine. Yeah. I felt as though I wasn't living my purpose. Because I wasn't living my purpose, I'm on my way to New York City. And he said, the film school was the best. I had to go home and call them. And I went in the next day, and I just fell in love with it. And I signed up, and I ended up selling my restaurants, and I ended up staying in film school, just learning every aspect of film, TV, editing, producing, writing, directing, every department. So I understand the whole food chain, the whole value chain. And the rest is history because I'm a natural producer.
Yeah.
So
Because now, sorry so much. I actually am curious now because now through this process of you actually now selling the restaurant, going back to film school, you're in school now.
going to yeah.
Now it's the money's different because now.
No, but remember, I was already an entrepreneur. And I was still in real estate. And I sold my restaurants. I still had the barbershop. So I was still cash flowing.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just looking for the next thing. So I was able. I could afford at the time to
make
just focus on school.
Transition. Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
So, but I was the only black guy in the school, by the way.
Sure.
Before me was the guy who was running my restaurant, but he was done.
Yeah.
I was the only black guy. So people thought, hey, you know,
this black dude
what is he gonna do? But I was the only one that was successful because at a certain point you have to do your thesis. And they give you all this equipment for a week, cameras, and this is film camera, not the digital stuff. This is back when it was actual film cameras.
Oh my word! Yeah.
Big heavy stuff.
Yeah.
They gave me all that equipment, lights, sound, everything, and I took it back to my hood, the equivalent of Alexander, and no one saw a movie being made, and I had the whole city behind my little movie. I even had drug dealers donating cars. I'm just saying. I'm not promoting drug dealers.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No. You just that's your journey.
From everybody was involved. Everybody wanted to participate.
Yeah.
And when I ended up completing that project, no one else finished anything. I was the only one who finished. Everyone else had an excuse.
Yeah.
This happened. I couldn't get this. That didn't happen. I was the only one able to screen my film as a completed project.
Yeah.
Because I say, being a producer is not. If you can produce, you can produce anything. Once you understand the rules of engagement, and once you understand the industry that you're operating in, right? So if you take architect plans to build a house, or you take a script to produce a movie or TV series, it's the same thing. It's the same skill set.
I got
and you still have to hire the same type of people
Yeah.
to manage that process to come out with a finished product.
Yeah, Samad, I've still got so many questions for you.
Sure.
Because as much as we talk about you needing to find your passion and then having to go back to school to learn a couple of things and then eventually, going through the process and this journey up to where you are now, I'm so curious about so many things. The pressures of, just making it. Do you think you were born, sort of like a producer, or you kind of cultivated that skill? Somebody's asking also already via WhatsApp, the full industry in RSA compared to the USA. We're going to chat about that and more, but we have to take a quick ad break. After this, it's more with Samad Davis.
Kwa-Pick n Pay kumisiwe ukwenyusa kwamanani ukukusiza wonke uthe xaxa. Njengethu iikilo zeMandone frozen chicken fry packs ngo-R59.99 ne-750 grams ye-Nestle Green Coffee esethinini ngo-R69.99 umuswayi. Uma amanani ekhuphuka, unethembele emananini ethu angakhushulilwe. Ngomhla ka-10 kuye ngeyi-16 February, kumisitoke esekhona. Kunembandela, kwa-Pick n Pay kuphela.
Volume, please.
It's Celsius 20th birthday, and we're giving away cars, motorbikes, cash, vouchers, and more.
Let's all get around. It's time to celebrate. It's a party tonight. We know that.
Buy, spin, and stand a chance to win your share of 30 million rand worth of prizes that will really change your world. Play on the Celsius app, dial *147# or WhatsApp 084 444 0040 now. T's and C's apply. Celsius, change your world with our 20th birthday gift.
Ngoku lixesha lokuba siyimbumba singabemi boMzantsi Afrika ngaphezulu kunakuqala. Thina siyi-South African National Blood Service sibakhathalele abantu bethu abanikela ngegazi. Yaye uqinisekisa ukuba nikhuselekile, sixhobise zonke iikliniki zethu ngezitshizi zezibulala intsholongwane nee-wipes ezine-alcohol. Sikhuthaza bonke abanikela ngegazi abasempilweni ukuba baqhubeke ngokunikezela ngegazi. The South African National Blood Service, igazi lakho lisindisa imiphefumlo.
Stay elevated with our weekend sound. This is Alex FM.
Kunesimemezelo lana esiqhamuka kwaBhekilanga bathi they inviting wonke ama-matric abafuna uku-improve ama-results babo to enroll for their second chance matric program. Ama-registrations asevuliwe and they can go to number 17 North Road Morningside, the teacher center to register for Uri-Writer Matric. The closing date is the 15th of February 2022 and classes start on the 14th of February 2022. Ivenue ke ikwabhekilanga secondary school, amaklasi akhona ahamba from u3 kuze kufike u5. Bayenza wonke ama-subjects except African languages, tourism and agriculture. The contact person, if you are interested, will contact Maringa. She's the center manager. In number yakhona it's 082 778 812. All right, back into our conversation with Samad Davis. Samad, let me quickly attend this question. It's coming through via WhatsApp line. And now, if you want to send us your questions, send them through 068 212 9281. So the question says, please ask him, how does he find the film industry in RSA compared to the States, even though we're almost a century behind?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't think it's a matter of comparing. You're talking about a film industry in the U.S. that's been around 100 years, at least. So it's not a fair comparison. What I will say is that South Africa is a beautiful place to produce film and television. The landscape is incredible. I've been privy to work between Hollywood and South Africa in general, but South Africa in particular. And so you have all the talent here. I mean, there's so many talented actors. There's so many talented people behind the scenes, from directors to writers to producers to art directors to you name it, DOPs.
Yeah.
We shouldn't look at comparing. We should just look at, okay, how do we continue to collaborate and keep elevating? Because it's not a race, it's not a competition. And guess what? Hollywood shoots a ton of their projects here in South Africa. Whether it be Cape Town, Joburg, Durban, this country is used for so many productions. But this industry is evolving. I mean, I've watched it single-handedly, watched it evolve. I mean, it's gone from soapies to now, the viewers are not just happy to watch programs that are all studio-based. They want to see stuff on location. They want to see,
street style.
And street style. So when you think about platforms like Netflix and Amazon and Showmax and people's viewing habits are changing. The expectations are changing. What you expect to see, the access is changing because now we're in a digital age. We have access to everything that's going on in the world via our phones, right? So we all have the same appetite. It's just what time zone do we wake up, right? So it's not a comparison. There's just a lot of opportunity in this country in terms of where the industry is going, and on top of that, a lot of content that's shot in South Africa is even the local content is being shown in America thanks to Netflix's of the world. So there's a great opportunity to just keep playing your part in that industry and keep helping it evolve. Because again, think about Black Panther, right? Black Panther, made Africa has always been sexy, but the world now looks at it in a more sexy way. And I don't mean to be, I'm not talking sexy from the traditional sense, but cool. I can use the word cool. Everybody.
Wakanda. Now we're all in the, I get you.
So, when I first started coming to Africa, it was like, what are you doing in Africa? Why are you in Africa? Now everybody and their mama wants me to bring them to Africa, right? So that's a big, this has been a 14-year journey for me, bouncing between the U.S. and Africa.
Samad, quickly, 2 questions. We need to wrap up. Do you think entrepreneurs are born, or we kind of we learn the skills of the trade and become entrepreneurs?
It's a combination. Some people are born. It's in my blood. I'm born with it. I'm born with it. But I'm only as good as my failures. And that doesn't mean someone else can't be taught to be an entrepreneur and understand the rules of engagement of being an entrepreneur. That's why mentorship is important. Okay? So it's not if you're not born with it. I mean, what does that mean? Yes, I'm born with a certain tenacity and a will to keep exploring and trying to make things happen. That's just how I'm wired, right? But that doesn't mean someone else who isn't can't learn entrepreneurship and think differently in terms of what the future holds for them, and how to position their talents or things that they're passionate about, and put a business around it.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of both. But the confidence comes in your failures. So you have, the first step is to always try. Try, get as much information along the way as you try, and then even if you fail, the secret sauce is in getting up and trying again, but making sure that you have the right information that help you be successful. And it's also about pivoting, because you might fail at the one thing you did try, but God might be using that as an opportunity to point you in a better direction to where you might actually need to go.
Yep. My final question, Samad. This show is obviously focused on women and children, and just building the families, which I have to mention, right? Uguti, last year I actually met with Samad just somewhere like in Melrose. And I told him about the show, which is about women and children.
Right.
And then it was actually Samad that said, why ungayenzi this show which focuses on families, because you can't isolate women and children alone. I mean, we coexist with men, our partners, our brothers. It needs to be a family-based show.
Right.
From then on, I took it and ran. I was just like, listen, the show is all about women, children, and building families.
Right. There's no family. There's no community without mother, father, child.
Yes.
And even if the relationship doesn't work,
Yeah.
let's just say, even if you were married, got divorced, if you were together, just separated, there's no community without the mother, father, and the children.
Yeah.
Kids need both. They need the energy from their mother and the lessons and whatever love she wants to pour into them. They also need the love and energy and guidance from their father.
Yeah.
So we're moving into a society. I'm from America, and I'm African American, right? And we have a pandemic as it relates to this very subject, because it's a very matriarchal society where the women is women and children, and then the fathers are either marginalized, some by their own doing. Right? Maybe they're dead. Maybe they're in jail. Maybe they just are not responsible. And then you have a whole nother group that are responsible and are trying to be in their lives, but the society is designed in such a way where there's infighting because the women don't feel as though they need the father. I grew up without my father, so my kid will be all right too, even if the father is there. So you find a society where the father and mother fighting just to take the kid this weekend, and then what happens is you have a female grows up without the father, and you have boys that grow up without the father, or without all that the father has to offer, right? And so there's going to be some shortcomings, and that doesn't mean we can't be good people if we're not blessed to have a mother and a father. So I want to be clear about that. I'm just saying, if you don't have a father or a father figure, or a mother, or at least have a mother figure, or mentors that can fill in those gaps, because every kid needs that energy from both of them.
It's up to us, I think, Samaj.
It's us. And so
we have kids. It's up to us to then start teaching our kids, start instilling these values of the family.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah.
So I see that problem in America, right? And because of the power, the influence that film and TV and music has from the West, from America, I see that formula being adopted here
by us Africans.
By Africans. Now, I think the difference is, so basically you're giving away your superpowers. And I think that the thing that you have here that I really appreciate is that the father is still respected traditionally.
Yeah.
So what would you have? I know grown people that I've met one place in Africa or another who might be super rich, but they would still, and this could be a grown man, a powerful person, he would still say, my daddy this or my daddy that.
Yeah.
Or you meet a woman who's very successful and she's like, my daddy this, my daddy that.
Yeah.
So when you have people who still respect their daddy, now don't get me wrong, doesn't mean daddies haven't abused their power so much and marginalized women so much that I understand the frustration that you have. I do.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You have to still find a way to keep the balance between man and woman and child, and then therefore keep community intact. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, it's a losing battle.
Yeah.
We're never going to get any farther. You think about every other race in the world. You go places, you go to the mall, you see them together.
Yeah.
You see them traveling
Mom,
together.
dad,
And
kids.
and we're
Yeah.
and us, we're separated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what does the
Sure.
future look like if we keep doing that?
Hmm.
So that's one thing I would say. Is I've watched that movie. I still watch that movie in the U.S. And so you guys are now
We need
watching
to
that
now,
movie.
yeah, we need to kind of know what to take and kind of not to
Exactly.
adopt. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I feel you completely. It's absolutely, it's a whole pandemic, actually, in this country because we really have taken on the responsibility. Like, yeah, I'm a woman, I'm a female, I'm strong, I'm
There's
this,
nothing
I'm
wrong
that.
with that.
It's like,
My mother's strong. My
no,
daughter,
of
I
course.
want the best for my daughter, right? I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's my job to instill certain things in my daughter to say, what does balance look like? You know, my sons, what
It's
does
a
balance look
balance.
like? How do you
Yeah.
treat a woman? How do you have to have balance?
Yeah.
You know?
Totally
So
agree.
that's what it's about.
Yeah. Samad, where can people find you on socials?
I'm just at Samad Davis. SAMAD Very simple.
Yeah.
Across
All right.
all social media.
Across all social media. Listen, you want to follow Usamad, just his journey, and also if you just want to get your daily inspiration, you are quite somebody that
Oh, the pressure.
I'm telling you now. Usamad is always talking about vibrating higher and like
Yeah, we
you know,
have to.
and like I don't know, mindset and like spiritual food and like
Everything.
vibranium energy. So go
Yeah,
follow Samad Davis. Yeah, yeah.
That's it, my friend.
One more thing.
One
very
more
quickly.
thing, quickly, because we're all energy, right? And whatever we consume is what we manifest. So if we consume bad content, negative stuff, you're never going to be anything. Your father wasn't anything. Your mother wasn't anything. You're not going to be anything. If you consume all of that stuff, then that's your outcome.
Yeah.
But if you choose to consume positivity, it's things that inspire you, surround yourself with people who inspire you to do better, you know, then you will do better.
Yeah. 100%. You're smart. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, hanging out with you, sharing energy with you, and the space. We look forward to all that you've got. I'm sure, even at your age, there's still lots more to do, and we're looking forward to just cheering you on, especially me. I'm watching and I'm inspired, man.
Thank you.
Continue just doing your work for the African continent and for the Black child as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
that.
for having me.
Yes.
Keep doing the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you. You're so welcome.